All right. Hello and welcome. All right. I am Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Yesterday, which was the 2nd of February of 2021, the Biden administration and President Biden signed an executive order which on immigration, actually 3 executive orders, but one of them I love. I love the language in it. I actually want to take the time to read it. All right. I want to read it with you so that you can see it because it is cool. All right. It is cool and it will make a difference. All right. So that's my plan. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you language in an executive order that came out yesterday from the White House, came out February 2nd, 2021. And I'll make my talking head here a little bit larger here. And I'm going to go line by line through this. It's 10 pages. It'll take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. And if you have an asylum case or if you are curious and interested in immigration, I mean, join me. All right. And so thank you for being here. This will take some time. I might get interrupted in the middle of it. I run a law firm. I might have a client that will be contacting me in just a few minutes. If so, I'll pause the video and I'll come right back and get started where we are. But I want to share the language with everybody who's interested so that you see it, okay? So Executive Order, February 2nd, 2021, creating a comprehensive regional framework to address the causes of migration, to manage migration throughout North and Central America, and to provide safe and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the United States border. Remember that there are 10,000+ immigrants who are waiting in Mexico right now for an asylum hearing to enter the United States because they are saying that they are fleeing for their lives from persecution, from torture, from violence, from threats in their home country, and they're seeking asylum. But they're stuck in Mexico, which in my opinion is violation of the law. So let's look at what this order says, all right? And I love the language. So anyway, by the authority vested in me as the president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Immigration Nationality Act, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1, policy. For generations, immigrants have come to the United States with little more than the clothes on their backs, hope in their hearts, and a desire to claim their own piece of the American dream. These mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters have made our nation better and stronger. I love this opening paragraph, people. It is a 180. It is a 180, completely the opposite of the tone of every single executive order that came out under the last president's administration. So thank you for putting some acknowledgement of the fact that immigrants actually make our country stronger and better. The United States is also a country with borders. All right? It's also a country with borders and with laws that must be enforced. Okay? Securing our borders does not require us to ignore the humanity of those who seek to cross them. The opposite is true. We cannot solve the humanitarian crisis at our border without addressing the violence, instability, and lack of opportunity that compel so many people to flee their homes. Nor is the United States safer when resources that should be invested in policies targeting actual threats, such as drug cartels and human traffickers, are squandered on efforts to stymie legitimate asylum seekers. Think about these words. This is awesome. All right? Consistent with these principles, my administration will implement a multi-pronged approach towards managing migration throughout North and Central America that reflects the nation's highest values. We will work closely with civil society, international organizations, and the governments in the region to establish a comprehensive strategy for addressing the causes of migration in the region, build, strengthen, and expand Central and North American countries' asylum systems and resettlement capacity, and increase opportunities for a vulnerable population to apply for protection closer to home. So that address the root causes in what's happening in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, all right, to help prevent the need to leave your home behind and come looking for a better opportunity somewhere else in the world or in the United States. Like, let's create a better opportunity where the people are. Smart, wise, all right? People want that anyway. At the same time, the United States will enhance lawful pathways for migration to this country and will restore and strengthen our own asylum system, which has been badly damaged by policies enacted over the last 4 years that contravened our values and caused needless human suffering. Straight from the White House. I couldn't have said it better myself. Awesome. Section 2. The United States strategies for addressing the root causes of irregular migration and for collaboratively managing migration in the region. A, the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, in coordination with the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the heads of any other relevant executive departments and agencies, shall, as soon as possible, prepare. 1, the United States strategy for addressing the root causes of migration, the root causes strategy. Cool. 2, the United States strategy for collaboratively managing migration in the region, the quote-unquote collaborative management strategy. How do we collaborate with governments in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico to resolve this issue once and for all, right? Like, where do we work together against the violence, the cartels? You know, did you know that 80% of the world's supply of cocaine comes from Colombia? Still? All right. And did you know that the vast majority of that rock, that drug, is consumed in the United States? And did you know that in order for that rock, that drug, to enter the United States, it's got to pass through Panama, and then Costa Rica, and then Nicaragua, and then Honduras, and Guatemala, and El Salvador, and Mexico on its way to the United States? And did you know that with it comes horrendous and horrible violence that causes this humanitarian crisis that people end up needing to flee? And in my opinion, it's all caused by supply and demand. There's supply of a drug in South America, and there's a demand for the drug in the United States. How do we fix that? How do we fix that, people? Oh my gosh. If we could address the root causes of that, like really, I mean, it'd be a game changer. I digress. All right. So B, the root causes strategy shall identify and prioritize actions to address the underlying factors leading to migration in the region and ensure coherence of United States government positions. The root causes strategy shall take into account, as appropriate, the views of bilateral, multilateral, and private sector partners, as well as civil society, and it shall include proposals to, 1, coordinate place-based efforts in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, the Northern Triangle, to address the root causes of migration, including by A, combating corruption, strengthening democratic governance, and advancing the rule of law. Okay, cool. All right. B, promoting respect for human rights, labor rights, and a free press. C, countering and preventing violence, extortion, and other crimes perpetrated by criminal gangs, trafficking networks, and other organized criminal organizations. All right, you guys, I'm going to pause here. I've got a consultation that's waiting to meet with me. I'm going to do that. I'm going to come right back, and I'm going to continue. Thank you. So far, so good. Thank you for being with me. All right. So how do I do this? I need to pause. No, wait, I need to stop the share, and then I need to pause the recording. All right, here we go. All right, I'm back. I'm going to keep going. Okay. So we're on point 1, A.P.C, and then D is combating sexual, gender-based, and domestic violence, and E, addressing economic insecurity and inequality. Yeah, let's address all that stuff. All right, I love it. 2, consult and collaborate with the Office of the United States Trade Representative, with the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of Labor to evaluate compliance with the Dominican Republic Central American Free Trade Agreement to ensure that unfair labor practices do not disadvantage competition. That's interesting. 3, to encourage the development of the Northern Trial domestic resources and the development of Northern Trial domestic capacity to replicate and scale efforts to foster sustainable societies across the region. Like, let's start investing in and make the economy stronger of our neighbors, all right, so that we can all grow stronger together. C, so the root causes strategy was B, was little b. Now we're on little c. The collaborative management strategy shall identify and prioritize actions to strengthen cooperative efforts to address migration flows. Like, let's collaborate with the governments of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Mexico, and let's figure out how to, help minimize the need of people to relocate. Nobody wants to feel like they have to move out of their country, all right? Nobody wants that, I promise you. So including by expanding and improving upon previous efforts to resettle throughout the region those migrants who qualify for humanitarian protection. The collaborative management strategy should focus on programs and infrastructure that facilitate access to protection and other lawful migration avenues in both the United States and partner countries as close to the migrants' homes as possible. Priorities should include support for expanding pathways through which individuals facing difficult or dangerous conditions in their home countries can find stability and safety in receiving countries throughout the region, not only through asylum and refugee resettlement, but also through labor and non-protection related programs. All right, to support the government of collaborative management strategies, the United States government shall promptly begin consultations with civil society, the private sector, international organizations, and governments in the region, including the government in Mexico. These consultations should address: 1, the continued development of asylum systems and resettlement capacities of receiving countries in the region, including through the provision of funding, training, and other support. 2, the development of internal relocation and integration programs for internally displaced persons. Remember, when a person has to flee their own home, all right, when they have to flee their own home to another area of their same country, they're referred to as an internally displaced person, an IDP. But if they have to flee their own home and then leave their own country to another one, they become a refugee. Okay, that's the difference. IDP, internally displaced person, versus a refugee, someone who they're not internally displaced, they have actually crossed a border and are now displaced into a different country. All right, as well as reintegration programs for returnees in relevant countries of the region. And 3, humanitarian assistance, including through expansion of shelter networks to address the immediate needs of individuals who have fled their homes to seek protection elsewhere in the region. I'm going to keep going, everybody. If you have questions as I'm saying all this, I know this is a lot. Welcome to the world of executive orders, all right? But this is a great executive order. And so I'm going to keep going. All right, Section 3, expansion of lawful pathways for protection and opportunity in the United States. A, the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall promptly review mechanisms for better identifying and processing individuals from the Northern Triangle who are eligible for refugee resettlement to the United States. Consideration shall be given to increasing access and processing efficiency. As part of this review, the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall also identify and implement all legally available and appropriate forms of relief to complement the protection afforded through the United States Refugee Admissions Program. I'm sorry, I'm now realizing that you cannot see my screen. Let me get this back going. All right. Through the Refugee Admissions Program, the Secretary of State and Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a report to the President with the results of the review. B, as part of the review conducted pursuant to Section 3A, which we just read, of this order, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall, I, consider taking all appropriate actions to reverse the 2017 decision rescinding the Central American minors CAM parole policy and terminating the CAM Central American minors parole program. Like, let's undo that because that's bad law. And consider initiating appropriate actions to reinstitute and improve upon the CAM parole program. And 2, consider promoting, or double I rather, consider promoting family unity by exercising the Secretary's discretionary parole authority to permit certain nationals of the Northern Triangle who are the beneficiaries of approved family-sponsored immigrant visa petitions to join their family members in the United States on a case-by-case basis. C, the Secretary of State and Secretary of Homeland Security shall promptly evaluate and implement measures to enhance access for individuals from the Northern Triangle to visa programs as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. All right, very good. I'm not going to discuss that in too much more detail. I'm going to keep going. All right, Section 4 of this order, restoring and enhancing asylum processing at the border. A, resuming the safe and orderly processing of asylum claims at the United States land borders. I, the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Director for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, in coordination with the Secretary of State, shall promptly begin consultation and planning with international and non-governmental organizations to develop policies and procedures for the safe and orderly processing of asylum claims at United States land borders. Boom. Big one. Boom. That means no more migrant protection protocols. Let's start processing asylum cases again at the border. Credible fear interviews, the whole thing. Consistent with public health and safety and capacity constraints. So they're not going to overwhelm the system. They're going to start figuring this out again. Double I, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the Attorney General, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the Director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, shall promptly begin taking steps to reinstate the safe and orderly reception of processing of arriving asylum seekers, consistent with the public health and safety and capacity constraints. Additionally, in furtherance of this goal, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, Big A, the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall promptly review and determine whether termination, rescission, or modification of the following actions is necessary and appropriate. The order suspending the right to introduce certain persons from countries where a quarantine communicable disease exists, from 2020 under the Trump administration, and control of communicable diseases, foreign quarantine, suspension of the right to introduce and prohibition of introduction of persons into the United States from designated foreign countries or places of public health for public health purposes. It's like we're getting a vaccine out there. What can we do? What can we do to be complying with our obligations under international law to protect asylum seekers? All right. Okay. B, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall promptly review and determine whether to terminate or modify the program known as the Migrant Protection Protocols. Boom. All right. Let's review and determine whether or not we can terminate that bad program. All right. Including by considering whether to rescind the memorandum of Secretary of Homeland Security titled Policy Guidance for Implementation of the Migrant Protection Protocols dated January 25th, 2019, and any implementing guidance. In coordination with the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the Director of the CDC, and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall promptly consider a phased strategy for the safe and orderly entry into the United States consistent with public health and safety and capacity constraints of those individuals who have been subjected to MPP for further processing of their asylum claims. All right, you guys, I've got to stop there for now. This document, let me just see here. Do I want to continue reading this? Humanitarian Asylum Review Program. The following presidential documents are revoked. All of these other bad executive orders from the Trump era are going to be revoked, ensuring timely and fair expedited removal process. Like, okay. Asylum eligibility. Within 180 days, they're going to do a comprehensive examination of current rules, regulations, precedential decisions, all right, and internal guidelines regarding the adjudication of asylum claims, all right? Within 270 days, they're going to do a new joint regulations addressing circumstances in which a person should be considered a member of a particular social group for asylum. And all of this other stuff. Signed, Joseph R. Biden Jr., the White House, February 2nd, 2021. Sorry, I sped up there at the end. Maybe that was helpful for you. I'm just watching the time. I've got a meeting I've got to get into in just a minute. Thank you so much for joining with me. I hope it was helpful or interesting or useful to go through this executive order. I don't know if you've ever gone through an actual executive order before, all right? Some of them are awful. This one is a good one. So I wanted to share it. I hope that it was useful. Thank you for taking the time to really go through it. If you have questions about it, hey, pick up the phone and call our office. Not a problem. If you think it might benefit you, feel free. Pick up the phone and call our office. Not a problem. All right? If you want to see more, you can just Google, hey, February 2nd executive order. Okay? And that's it. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. And hey, if this was useful, if you want to get more videos, please subscribe to our channel, hit the little notifications bell. You can be notified when we've gotten more news, more updates, things like that. And yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day. And there'll be more news as we come, and there'll be more videos as we get them. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.